Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire. This is my club, my only desire. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire. This is my club, my only desire.
Look, an absolute good evening and welcome to THFC Till We Die, home of Tottenham past present and an exciting future under the mighty cockerel as it just leans along with half a leg, half an arm, and he's got no tail at all, no feathers. He's just had enough. I am so angry. I am so pissed off. I just got it back. Like his job, it depends on the Europa League. I did reply to our source. I said that's BS. He should go tonight. Enough is enough, and I think it is. Enough is enough. He needs to go. Ange Postecoglou, the players all need to hang their head in shame. We thought Wolves was bad, but tonight was even worse. I read out through the match, right? And I read out again. This is from the game. This is actually from the game. And I read it out and I know say, only Forest fans. Our fans have been silent. The whole team looked uncoached. No patterns of play or style anymore. I'm speechless. And then I got this little bit of stats. I mean, this stat for me is just unreal. I don't know where I've put it now. Where is it? Come on, where is he? Where are you? Oh, here we are. Aussie Idealist, 19 league defeats, 93-94. Ange Postecoglou, 18 defeats in the Premier League, 24-25. Jerry Francis, 18 defeats, 96-97. That was during his injury hit season. Only one manager in Tottenham history has had more losses in a season than Ange Postecoglou, and that was Aussie Idealist. When we nearly got relegated that season, we went to Oldham, beat Oldham 2-0, but we lost to QPR 4-1 in our final game of the season. I will get to the lads in a minute to get their thoughts on it. I'm just too angry. I will say something I may regret. That's how angry I am after seeing that load of shite tonight. Big up to
Casey
Flockhart, 21
Yeah.
top. Don't know what that means, but welcome. Kirsty, nice to see you in the chat. Please hit the like button, subscription button. Big up to Boris. At least we scored a goal on this day, something United didn't do yesterday, so that's a positive, I guess. Yippee. I'm really full of excitement because that's sorry, Boris. Good evening again, everyone. Watching our beloved Spurs is like a carry-on film. They never made. Carry-on films were consistent. We're not. Carl Simpson calls for my sins. This new song gives me joke box feel, hero vibes. I love it. Yeah. Something you would play ahead at a Ramsey.
Yeah,
Not
totally.
Ramsey, Rambo.
Totally.
Something.
It does give you jukebox hero vibes.
It gives you that Sylvester Stallone sort of bad action hero film sort of vibes, but it's great. I love it too. Wayne Bonner says we should change the intro to Metallica's Welcome Home Tottenham. Yeah, we would get so badly done by YouTube. Our channel will be taken down. Don't worry, lads. Didn't want to win anyway. Nah, we didn't want to win, did we? Nah, we didn't. We just decided to turn up and have a defeat because we felt like it. Wayne says, when Ozzy was in charge, we played over 40 league games and lost Sheringham in 96-97. Francis lost half the first team to injury. A bit like Ange this season, really. Tottenham loaned Solomon to Leeds, who are promoted to the Premier League today, and Tottenham are at the bottom of the Premier League, yeah. And then Wayne Bonner, Ange will lose over 20 league games. Yeah, he will do. I even got a message from Mr. Brady. He says he's been a fan for over 50 years, nearly 60 years. He says, can't take any more of this crap. Have coach side, wins easily tonight. Get rid of Ange now, and we don't even get past the Norwegians. I'll start with you, James, and then I go to you. Well, I actually start with you, Steve. Where do you put tonight into perspective? I mean, there's no good spin on this. The players have let us down badly, really badly tonight.
I thought it was a half-assed attempt by the players today, but I still think the Wolves' performances was far worse. But two things that popped in my mind about today's match. That number one, I do believe that we missed Sonny out there. One from a leadership aspect, and number two, just his technical play. Even if he's not scoring goals, he does seem to make the right plays in possession in the attack down that left-hand side. And I do think that Sonny's contributions were missed, but also the other thing, and this is a big thing, is that what this game would look like if we actually had a legit number 9 out there putting away chances, because Richarlison had 2 chances that should have been put in the back of the net in the first half. He had another chance that he failed to put away in the second half before eventually scoring. But the idea that you like when chances are far and few between and you do have them, a legit number 9 puts those away. And to me, that was absolutely glaring in this match. But again, attitude coming into this match was just not there. And I don't know if this is just them, essentially just saying, you know what, the rest of the Premier League doesn't matter. We're just focused on Europa. Okay.
The Premier League does matter.
But that being said, it's like, you're also a professional footballer, so it does matter. It does matter. Your job is to care. It just when these type of matches happen against a team like Forest, and I know James is going to say it in just a second, that gives you the ball, that says, here, we're just gonna pop out and attack you on the counter. You can have 80% possession of the ball if you really want, and you do fuck all with it for a majority of the game because for whatever reason, because you don't care or your attitude's not right, whatever the case may be. And this is what you do with your possession, which is generally speaking side to side, recycling balls, not enough forward runs in the box that actually make their defense actually second guess of which direction you're going in the attack. It's just Jesus Christ, man. I don't know, man. It is what it is. My focus. I understand we have a job to do this upcoming Sunday against Liverpool, and that potential bloodbath. But I guess if their focus is on Europa, I guess my focus is on Europa too.
No, I mean, look, I get where you're coming from, Steve. I really do. But James, look, the focus should be Premier League. That's first and foremost. Anything else, you deal with it at the time. But this is our 18th league defeat of the season. If the bottom 3 were any half decent, we'd be in the relegation fight about now. We're in relegation form. So please tell me, for all that's love the money, how come that I know he's still there because of the Europa League, but that isn't good enough. This isn't good enough.
I mean, right. I'm just going over. I always like to have a deep dive into stats of games and things like that. And Steve touched on it at the end of the watch along. If you were to look at the stats, it shows a very misleading paints a very misleading picture. I mean, just very, very quickly, I'll touch on some. Spurs had 0.1% shy of 70% of the possession. We had an XG of 2.14 compared to Nottingham Forest's 0.64. We had 22 shots compared to Nottingham Forest's 4. We had only 6 shots on target. Nottingham Forest had 3. We had 45 touches of the ball in the opposition box. Nottingham Forest had 4. We had our passes were near enough double what Nottingham's Forest were. Our accurate passes were better. Our forward passes were more. So when you look at that, you'd be like thinking Spurs were just unlucky.
Yeah.
But when you actually watch that game, I agree with you. We looked, and like what your man was saying from the ground, is we looked uncoached.
Yeah.
We didn't look like
No.
we showed up. I mean, I said it at half time. It looked like a training session.
Yeah.
The Spurs
Not
players were
clinical.
treating it like a training session or a friendly. They just didn't
Yeah.
care,
No.
and it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for the fans, and them players need to take a good, long, hard look at themselves. Look, they may have one eye on the Europa League, but if you've got one eye on the Europa League, say to your players, okay, look, you guys are going to concentrate on the Europa League. You guys concentrate on the Europa League. I'm going to have to try and figure out who my best 11 is for next year.
Who can I trust?
Yeah, who
Yeah.
can I trust to play for us? I mean, you look at the stats of the game, you would say those players played their heart out, but they didn't. It was Nottingham Forest allowing us to have the ball, allowing us to pass the ball, and allowing us to put crosses in, and they were confident in their belief that they were going to hold on to that 2-goal lead. Look, if that scoreline was reversed, if we were 2-0 up and Nottingham Forest scored in the 85th minute against us, we'd have been nervy as hell for the last 10 minutes of that game, and we'd have looked nervy. Nottingham Forest did not look nervy.
No.
They didn't look panicked. They didn't like, oh God, Spurs are going to get themselves back in this. We're going to be on the back foot. They just carried on playing their game. And I said to Steve at half time, I sent him a message, or it might have been just after half time. I sent Steve a message. I was saying the difference between us, Spurs, and Nottingham Forest is A, they're playing with confidence, B, they're playing for each other, and C, they're playing for pride. They are flying, and the more that they've had successful results, the better it becomes that snowball down the hill scenario. Is they're just gathering that momentum and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Aston Villa did it last season. They had a great season. They've kicked on this year. Look, I can sit here and I could tear every single one of them players a new a-hole. I really could. And I think they need, like I say, they need to have a good hard look at themselves and figure out whether or not they even actually want to be at the club and want to play the football.
I mean,
if they don't, fuck off, go somewhere else and be a waste to somewhere else. Don't do it in my football club because I won't take it.
I mean, sorry, go on, Steve.
I was going to say, right, and he just touched. James just touched on a very good point. Like, if you were an outsider that didn't watch this game and you're looking at the stat sheet, you would see it. You would see a team that came away unlucky that they weren't able to pop that second goal. But when you look at this team and you saw that there was literally they were not clinical at all for a good 85 minutes of this game. There was no hustle, there was no spirit. Like, dude, I've seen more hustle and chest than I saw from Spurs today. Like it was one of, dude. I'm at loss for words that a group of professional footballers would show up with the attitude that they showed up with today.
And what gets me right is we've got no midweek game. Forest have a game on Sunday. They have an FA Cup semi-final on Sunday. And they showed more commitment and more passion than we did in 85 minutes. The last 5 minutes, we say last 10 minutes plus injury time, it looked like, oh shit, we might do something here. Let's do something. I don't know what you put that under. I don't think it's down to. I agree with Boris when Boris says. It says, I don't think motivation is an issue. It's a lack of focus and concentration. It's constant with us. Well, that then comes down to you. You are the manager. You have to drill that out of the players. You're the one that sets the team up.
Not necessarily, right?
No,
because you can only lead a horse to water, right? Because it's Ange Postecoglou is not on that pitch playing, right? And if he did, he probably would play hard. Just knowing how much he has love and passion for this club, right? if it's an issue of lack of focus and concentration, you can try to drill it as many times as you want into the players, but they still have that responsibility on the pitch.
I think a manager, James, I don't know about you. I do get what you're saying, Steve. Don't get me wrong. I do understand what you're saying, but I also do feel a manager has responsibility to motivate his players. That his job is to motivate players. That's his job, to motivate, to make sure his team is set up in a way that they go out on that pitch and they should know what they're doing. Motivation is 60% manager, 40% yourself, or 60% yourself and 40% manager. We know what Angie's like. We've seen videos of him, how he is in team talks, and players that come out and said, I feel like 10-foot tie and you want to run through a brick wall for this manager. These players do not want to run through a brick wall for Ange Postecoglou. And
No.
I don't care that they're saving it for the Europa League. For me, your bread and butter is the Premier League. Everything else is a bonus. Your job is to turn out week in, week out for 38 games in a season to get 3 points to get you high up that league as possible. Everything else, going along in the competition, going along in Europe is a bonus. The Premier League is your bread and butter.
So I'll just say that I'll just say this, right? And this goes back to my playing days. Players police themselves. And when you are in a team and you have a player or two that fails to show up, that is half-assing it on the field, it is up to the players. As soon as that game ends, your leadership takes those players aside and says, listen, unacceptable. You like, I do not want to play next to you if this is the level of performance that you're going to put out. Whether we're having a good season or a bad season, it is up to the leaders of this team to pull whoever you feel, whether it was Wilson Odegaard or Richarlison or whoever, Mikey Van de Ven, whatever the case is. It's like, as a player, it is all about respect. And when these players show up and have that type of performance, it is up to the leadership committee to pull those players inside and said, I don't want to play next to you if this is the level, if this is how much you care, or this is the level of it. And it's up to Ange Postecoglou to turn around and bench that player.
Yeah.
For that next match. Because if players want to play in the biggest matches, period, point blank, it is up to Ange to say, you know what? Screw that, you're sitting. And if these players do care about Europa League, if this is the performance, then you're not playing against Bodo Glimt. I'm sorry. I'm gonna play Matisse Tell. I'm gonna play Mikey freaking Moore or Archie Gray, because at least they're going to show up when it matters.
Yeah.
Period. Like, that's, to me, that's the downfall of Ange Postecoglou, because he's not gonna do that. He's not gonna bench that player.
And I want to put a question to James out of your point about the leadership group, Steve. There is no leadership group. The leadership group is absolutely spineless. It is spineless.
Yeah.
And it is. So it's like Wayne Bonner says here, James, and your side, what are the coaching staff doing? Do you know?
It's a good question.
Yeah. I remember the 80s with the teams of Steve Perriman with Graham Roberts, Paul Miller, Tony Galvin, Aussie Idealists. Everyone was a captain on that team. You had Steve Perriman, he was your captain. But all them other players in the 80s, they were captains. Graham Roberts would turn around, if Paul Miller wasn't doing his job, would turn around to Paul Miller and say, you're not effing doing your job. You look at the Man United signs on the Fergies. Roy Keane would turn around to a player and literally shout at him on the pitch. You look at the Liverpool sides. Yeah, you look at the Liverpool side of the 70s and 80s, your Graham Souness, your Emlyn Hughes, your Alan Hansons, Kenny Dalglish. Every one of them was a captain on that pitch. They were men. These are a bunch of overpaid
fairies.
Yes, thank you. I was trying to think of a word without being.
I mean, the way I look at it is, it's very similar to what you were saying, Steve. Is that if what Ange Postecoglou? I think my question to both of you guys. I mean, whichever one of you wants to answer it first, I'm not bothered. But do you think that some of these players have got it into their head that they're undroppable, and that it doesn't matter how good or bad I play, I'm going to be playing the next game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Ange needs to then maybe take a step back and go, you know what? Didn't play well, didn't play well, didn't play well, didn't play well, didn't play well. I've got 8 players out there that didn't play well. I've got 3 players that was busting a gut for the team. Right, I'll leave them 3 players in, but I'm going to make wholesale changes. I'm going to give my squad a chance to shine. Because I mean, to me, right? I mean, this is my opinion. Benton Kerr didn't show up. Romero, hit and missing first half, a couple of mistakes, didn't really show up. Mickey was very quiet. Odebert, very quiet. Decky, very quiet. Pat Matsar, very quiet. Richie, Richie's an enigma to me. It's like he disappears for 80 minutes in the game, pops in a goal, and people rave about him. And it's like, no, you can't disappear for 80 minutes in the game and then pop up for 5 minutes and expect to be a world-class player. It's not happening. Dom Solanke, when he came on, didn't really change the game. One player that came on that changed the game or tried to drive that forward was once again the same player that Eintracht Frankfurt got my man at Schmeiser's Bergvall. Came on, was running, was hustling, was trying to close down the gaps, trying to snuff out the danger in the middle of the park. And to me, the way how I would set up against Liverpool, if I was going to have a midfield 3 against Liverpool, I would have Bergvall, Archie Gray, and James Maddison as my midfield 3. Have Bergvall and Gray as the holders, Maddison as the advance, as the number 8, and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Put Tell out on the left. Give Mikey Moore a run out on right, or give Mikey Moore a run out on left and put Tell out on right. And then, I don't know, put Dane Scarlett up front. Jesus Christ, I mean, in Europa League, when it looked like we were going to fucking lose, he put the youngsters on and they turned the game around.
But he's not going to do that, is he? Because he's
not going to do that because he's too busy. He's too concerned about the image of the fucking first team players. Fuck the image. Play for your fans. Give the fans heart.
That's how this is set up. Is like Ange Postecoglou sets up the leadership committee that's supposed to police themselves, right? And this is how soft we are. In a match that we're down 2-0 at half, right before half, you see one of your vice captains laughing and joking and hamming it up on the sideline.
I was just about to say that.
Not focused on the game, has the attention is not on the game. Same thing with a guy like Brendan Johnson, who, quite honestly, I think we all agree that I don't know how you feel. It's like his development is plateaued and he can't be counted on unless you're playing Southampton or Ipswich. He doesn't show up, right? And so you have one of your captains who's not taking it seriously, who is supposed to be a part of this leadership group that's supposed to hold your players accountable. And at that point, as a manager, you're supposed to step in and say, hey, listen, because you're not doing my job, now I have to do mine. I'm sorry, you're sitting. And if that means you miss Bodo Glint, you had nobody to blame but yourself. That's when Ange Postecoglou, and you're 100% right. It's not about image. It's not about protecting your players' feelings. If they're not going to give a shit about being down 2-0 in a game that you probably should have showed up for, you don't get the opportunity to play in the biggest game. Sorry. Doesn't work that way. And oh, by the way, Lucas Bergvall's playing his heart out. You know what I mean? The 19-year-old is the one that's playing his heart out.
I got a couple of comments here I want to get through. We got here from Philip Brady. Team, it's not being coached. They're left to do whatever. They're left to do whatever. It's pathetic and embarrassing. Big Bad Ron, big up you, sir. Welcome. He says it's the race structure won't change. We could be looking at mid-table for the next 5 years. Philip says the same. Mid-table would be like a cup win at present. There's so many people in tonight. Philip says, but he agrees with you, Steve. Bergvall, I agree that Bergvall's player of the season. Close by Jad Spence, by the way. It took 80 minutes for Porro to put in one decent cross.
Yeah.
I mean,
but also he completely no-showed Forrest's second goal by not closing down the space that allowed that cross to go in. It's like he was absolutely lazy. Yeah.
Look,
Uh,
I
pissed.
look. It's so embarrassing to see a team play like this and not play for the shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of the narrative. I'm sick of this narrative of, oh, he'd be in because of the Europa League. I said it in the watch along. It's like living in purgatory. He's either staying or going. Whatever you do, for Christ's sake,
Like,
just get it
if you
over
wanna-
and done with.
If you want to sack him, you sack him because he's soft on his first team. He doesn't like, and that to me is what pisses me off. And oh, by the way, and now you know why I want James, like why I wouldn't mind seeing James Madison go, is because images on the sideline when he's absolutely not glued into the game and he's laughing and joking down 2-0 at the half, and it's like that's the image of what Tottenham Hotspur is right now. It's just a big fucking joke.
Yeah.
And if you want to sack Ange based on results, fair. But it's like, I think James and you and I are in agreement. It's like, dude, you're soft on your first team when you probably should step in and rule with an iron fist at sometimes.
I slightly disagree with you two on that. I think the coaches also have to get in and rule that dressing room with an iron fist as well.
Yeah, we're saying the same
thing. The manager. It's not the manager. I mean, I'm very
every single one of them. Sorry, Dermo.
I'm trying to keep my cool tonight. I am that angry. I am that pissed off with what I just.
You and me both.
I'm
all three of us. I think it's all three of us.
I'm trying to think on what to say and how to say it because I don't. What I've just seen is 90 minutes of, and I'm sorry, Steve. This is worse than Wolves. This is far worse than Wolves, and you cannot just get up. We get to the high of ecstasy on Thursday. We were absolutely on top of the world on Thursday, and we've lived off that. Now we're back down in the dumps again. You cannot. Consistency is the key on winning anything. You have to back up a win. You have to back it up with another decent performance in the win. That breeds confidence. And if these players can switch it on and off for a game, what they're going to be like if they get to the final, or if they get to the second leg, which is in the Arctic Circle, by the way.
I was just going to ask you that. I was just going to ask you that. Like, what happens if they show up and beat Bodo 3-0 in the first leg?
Yeah,
out of nowhere, they just show up and put 3 on the board against Bodo, and they basically punch their ticket to the final.
Yeah, and then go away in the second leg, and it's a plastic pitch, and it's on the Arctic. Oh, I don't know.
I'm with Wayne.
I rarely
Wolves
am.
Was way worse.
Yeah, I know. Wayne said, "Don't agree with that." You me agree actually more than we disagree, Wayne. It was like we didn't bother turning up. We didn't bother turning up today either. Again, I think this is proof that our transfer window has come to haunt us very badly.
Yeah, but this is not an Ange Postecoglou issue, right? It's like when you have generational talents like Gareth Bale and you sell them, you have Luka Modric and you sell them. You know, you have a coach that comes in from Southampton, and your transfer strategy is just your transfer strategy is bring in young players, develop them, and then when you're on the precipice at the top of the mountain, you're this close, and then you do nothing in the summer transfer window to get over that hump, and then you make the shitty decision of getting rid of a guy who you didn't need to get rid of. You bring in Jose Mourinho, and you do nothing for him. You bring in Conte and do nothing for him. You bring in Postecoglou, and instead of giving experienced players in which he's used to, you give him kids, and you start a project with a guy who has never actually been in charge of a rebuild.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Look, I don't know if you lads want to carry on for a bit, but I'm going to call it a night because I'm that angry. And I'm also hungry as well. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to carry on for a few more minutes.
Yeah, we'll carry on for like 5-10 minutes and then call it a night. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll sit in the background anyway. But listen, guys, I will see you for the next. I'll see you when we're on Wednesday night. We're on, aren't we, James? You and me?
We're on. Yeah, we're on to Wednesday night. Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday night. Join me and James for a bit of a debrief. from that, and also going through transfer stuff. And then we've got Liverpool. Listen, guys, thanks all for watching. But look, James and Steve will carry on, and then I shall see you see you tomorrow night. I think me and Colin are doing something on Big Up, so we'll let you know what we're doing. All right, come on, you Spurs, in the big cockle week.
Yeah, dude, Dermot tapped out. He was so upset he had to tap out. Understand?
Yeah.
So, all right. So here's the question then, right? Because I mean, continuing to talk about this performance against Forest is like talking about a performance against Wolves. It's all shit. So putting that performance aside, we have Liverpool coming up, and of course, all they have to do is just show up and score a goal, and we probably crumble, and they win the league. It's unfortunate, but all right. Well, let's talk Liverpool. I'm sure you expect rotation. If you're Ange Postecoglou, how do you approach Liverpool?
I'd get me under 19s and say, do you fancy playing for first team?
How do you feel about Anfield, lads?
Yeah. Look, Liverpool is, I mean, the only thing that I think could possibly save us against Liverpool is if Crystal Palace cause an upset and beat Arsenal. If Crystal Palace beat Arsenal or even get a point against Arsenal, it's mathematically impossible for Arsenal to catch Liverpool. So they'll have already lifted the title. So they're going to be in party mode anyway. The only downside to that is because then it becomes a non-contest for Liverpool, or they're going to be buzzing because they've already won the title and they'll be showing off the Premier League. They're going to want to put on a massive performance for their fans. So, yeah, I think wholesale changes are going to be needed. I think certain players that played tonight need to be dropped and it needs to be changed. I would much rather see fringe players given a chance or squad players given a chance who play and run and challenge and do everything possible, and we get turned over 5-0, but we've shown desire and passion and a drive to try and play football, than watch another game of that. That's how I see it.
I think we're going to see the inverse of what we saw today. So I would probably assume we're going to see Vicario, and we're going to instead of Spence on the left, you're going to see Udogie come back to the first team. You're probably going to see Ben Davis and Danso start.
Yep.
That match, and then you're probably going to see Jed Spence out on the right. I'm fully with you. I would actually like to see James Maddison start at the 10, but I want to see Bergvall and Archie Gray as at the other two midfield positions. At this point, like you're going to see rest ahead. You're going to see rest ahead of the first fixture, right? So Romero, Van de Ven, Betancourt, Kulusevski are going to get rest. You're probably going to see James Maddison play his token 60, 70 minutes because that's usually when he takes him out, and then you'll probably see Papsar the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And you're, instead of seeing Richarlison start, you're going to see Solanke start again. And I would probably assume that if available, you might see Sonny. Maybe if he's available. I don't know if he's going to be available.
So from what I've read today, just from various news sources, not what I've been told anything. It's not like it's come from my source down there. Is that, and it's basically been reported that he will not play against Liverpool. He won't play. So I think what the whole thing of this is, it's his foot. I think he's probably been carrying a knock, or he is probably carrying an injury, and they're just going to basically leave him out, give him as much time to play, to rest, get that foot. I mean, when Kulusevski got his foot injury, it was supposed to be for a game. It was only supposed to be for a game. He's picked up this. He's got a sore foot. He's going to miss a game.
Then it
He
was,
should be back
and
in a
then
week.
it was the international break. He'll be back
Yeah.
after the international break, and it was still more matches after that. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So I do think that we're just going to rest Sonny until probably the first leg of the Bodo game, because I don't see there would be any need to risk it with him. I think we need him against Bodo. I think we need his, like you said. I think we need his technical prowess, and like I say, he might not be lighting up the scoring charts this season, but his technicals are still there. His ability to run at a defence and to unlock defences and unlock on an overlap to create space for his teammates.
Sure.
I think that's what we miss when he's not playing. But I do think I would love to see Mikey Moore given another shot. I mean, he is the future of our football club. It's been said for all season, and there's been times of like, oh, why ain't Mikey Moore playing? Why ain't he playing him? Why ain't he bringing him on? Why ain't he giving him a chance? Why? Is it because Ange doesn't? You can't say it's because Ange doesn't like using kids, because he's playing Bergval. He played Archie Gray out of position for 40% of the season. Yeah. So I mean, I just think give these players chance. Give these players chance to prove that they're worth something.
So we're going to spend the last couple of minutes talking about, I guess, some rumors, because I think the whole Ange thing has been beaten to death, and I seriously doubt Ange is going to get the sack tonight. And if they lose against Liverpool, I highly doubt he's going to get the sack after that one as well too. Like this is going to be Europa League or bust, and I think he's bought. I think they're committed to at least until the Europa League run ends anyway. So let's talk about Mikey Moore, because the rumor is that he himself has gotten himself a knock, which is why he wasn't in the match day squad today. What have you heard about that? Is that something that was true, or was he just dropped from the match day squad?
I'd not heard anything about an injury or anything like that. I did no reports of an injury. I actually thought he was in the match day squad. I messaged you during the thingy about why ain't Mikey Moore coming on, because I've not seen the full lineup. I missed for like the first 30 seconds and the build up of the game, just due to some family stuff. And it was like I thought he would have been in the squad and the match day squad. So I was quite shocked. So maybe he has picked up a knock. I mean, during Ange's press conference, he'd not said anything about him being injured, or as far as I was aware, he had a fully fit squad to choose from. So unless it happened early today in a warm up, I don't know. But yeah, I just think that we've got so many good young talents in and around the team that he's got to look at his squad, and he's got to. I agree with you. He's got, if they're not willing to play, if the first team players are not willing to play or pick and choose when they turn up, put them on bench, make them sit there. Make them sit there and say, look, I've got an 18-year-old kid, Archie Gray, who's playing out of position, who's busting a gut to cover our defence for you while you're sat there because you're not turning up and you're not playing with pride and you're not playing with passion. I'm dumbfounded by it.
You mentioned that Mikey Moore has been considered the future of the franchise. The same with Archie Gray. He is considered the six of the future, and I'm at this point where there's no need to window shop a dude like Yves Bissouma. He's going to be gone in the summer regardless. Like, this is now an opportunity. Like, if these players really have given up on the rest of the Premier League season, then it's imperative that you give a run out to a dude like Archie Gray, because when it comes to the summer, right? When it comes to the training, when it comes to preseason and training camp, you want to make sure that these guys are 100% sharp, ready to come in and actually challenge for a starting spot at this level. And the only way you're going to know if they're going to be able to handle it is if they get run out for the rest of the season. And especially at the six, when you consider that there's a potential that Johnny Cardoso is going to be coming in, and you do have Archie Gray, and you do have Lucas Bergvall and Rodrigo Betancourt for next season as well too. That sixth position is going to be up for grabs next year. and you want to
So
you definitely want to make sure that he's ready to compete.
yeah, so there is one thing I was going to talk about it with Dermo, and I don't mind talking about it with yourself. So what I'm hearing about the Johnny Cardoso deal is, yes, we've got clauses
Personal
written
terms.
in, but we've got clauses and everything. But he is very apprehensive about signing a
Yep.
contract with us. And I think he's even gone and said, look, I will come to you, but you need to be in Europe. If you're not in Europe,
Right.
I'm not coming.
Right. And
So basically, personal terms are agreed, but he's basically put a stipulation in of saying, look, if you're not in Europe, I'm not coming. And
that's embarrassing for a
yeah,
young U.S. international who's like what 2021, who's essentially saying that I'm not going to come unless you actually have Champions League play, which I guess is kind of embarrassing considering it's Tottenham Hotspur, and you
yeah.
can't lure a young player to come to your team without the Champions League attached to it. I don't know, man. I don't know how you feel about that. That's kind of embarrassing
It's
to me.
it's embarrassing and it's disappointing, and it kind of shows where we are as a football club, because
100%.
it kind of ties in with like the transfer windows over. I mean, I'm not just talking about the transfer windows of this season.
Yeah.
I mean, like Conte wasn't supported in the transfer window. I mean, I never thought Conte was good enough for the job anyway. I didn't like him as our manager, and I look, that's my own personal opinion. I think he was a very arrogant man. Jose Mourinho, I thought he wasn't supported in the transfer windows.
Correct.
And even as far back as Pochettino, I mean, like you said earlier, is we were on the cusp. We were one or two players away from being Premier League champions, from being a team that would be challenging for the Premier League year after year. And what happened is we stagnated. We didn't spend any money. Yes, COVID was on and there wasn't the money coming in, but so what? The Premier League and FIFA and everything had already turned around and said that, okay, we're going to give people grace on financial fair play because of the lack of
Yeah.
income from in thingy. So
And you still have the TV money still coming in.
yeah. In fact, more TV money because there were more games being shown live because there were because of the lack of the ability for fans to get to the games. So I mean,
we became the first
and
team. We became the first team in Premier League history without a transfer embargo to
yeah,
not make a move in the summer transfer window.
yeah. I mean, that was mind blowing. I mean, we got to the Champions League final. Yes, we didn't win it, but the amount of money that you get from now, I think at the time. So for the quarter final, and the chat can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but for the round of 16, winning the round of 16, it was 2.5 million. For winning the quarter final, it was 8 million. For winning the semi final was 16 million, and just for turning up in the final was 32 million, not including all the other millions that you get for winning games in your group stage and the win and the TV rights. That's just your prize money for winning games and getting to the final. So over that course of that run to the Champions League final, we made in excess of over 120, 130 million pounds, and we never spent a penny of it.
Nope.
And that's baffling. And then people say, well, we never spend money, and we never spend money. We don't spend money. And say, oh, well, we spent 100 odd million this year. Yeah, we spent 100 odd million this year, but most of that came from Harry Kane's sale. Or the sales that we make, we might not sell players for big money. I mean, there's so many players that have come to us and have not been given a chance. I mean, Davison Sanchez is a prime example for me, Steve. He was a quality defender that he got shit on at Spurs from a great height. He's gone to Galatasaray and he's lighting up the Turkish league. Yes, the Turkish league isn't the Premier League, but Galatasaray are flying, and Davison Sanchez is probably having one of the best seasons of his career. There's other players that have gone that we've had and there've been nobodies, and mediocre at best for us, and they move on and they turn into amazing players again. And it kind of makes you think, what's going on in the background? What is the difference? What changes for that player? So, I mean, look, I can sit here and rant all night about
Sure.
how the club's run, but things need to change, and new owners. I don't think I've had very good reports that say that regardless of what happens, Ange Postecoglou is going to be with us till season ends.
Yeah,
Regardless,
for sure.
if we get knocked
For sure.
out, if we get knocked out in semi-final, we're going to stick with him because we'll have 2 games left of the two or
Right.
3 games left of the Premier League. We're not going to sack a manager with 2 games left in the Premier League. There's no point. It shows 0 point. You might as well let him basically turn around and say, look, you've got till end of season, and then you're gone. And then at the end of the season, you announce a mutual termination
Right.
of his contract.
Well,
So,
unless you have somebody burning on the back burner ready to step in, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
that kind of kicks into your summer window. But we're going to finish it up right here, and I got this question to ask you. Ange Postecoglou came out this week and said that he doesn't think that Spurs need to change their summer their transfer strategy. He doesn't expect them to pivot off of them. From what you're hearing with your contacts, does that match Ange's statement with the targets that they have lined up? Does any of that match what Ange Postecoglou has been saying about their transfer strategy?
No, 0 matches. There's no correlation. When he said that in the press conference about the fact that he doesn't think that our transfer policy needs to change or our transfer strategy needs to change, I think he's
There's no pivot.
drastically wrong. And what I'm hearing is that when these new owners come in, they're going to inject so much money and be able to inject so much money into the club to enable us, because of the amount of money that we've sat on the financial fair play over 5 years. I think it's somewhere in excess of around about £300 million we've got around to play with before we even start to even get concerned. So if you've got £300 million to play with, that's for maybe 5 decent players who you can bring in. Get a couple of free transfers on all the players that are going out for contracts that we could get in for a season or 2, and change the fucking wage structure. Give players money, because that is what is going to ultimately allow players to want to come to us. Because if we're offering players peanuts, you're going to get monkeys, and we're going to play like monkeys.
Right, and that's the one caveat that I think is important, that there is going to be a takeover. The question isn't if, but the question is going to be when. And from everything I'm hearing, it's going to happen before the opening of the summer transfer window, for what it's worth. But that being said, it's like I look at this summer as a pivotal summer, because you look at our current face of our club right now, which is Sun Min Hun, and he's coming to the end of his road. And this has to be the summer where you get that new face of the franchise through that door. And if that means you're spending $125 million to do it, that's great, because you're going to have that dude around for at least 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's a new opportunity to market around a dude. But there's also going to be quality available, right?
Yeah.
I've heard that Nico Williams and Athletic Club Bilbao are starting to listen to offers for a guy like Nico Williams. Now, whether or not he stays in Spain, that is yet to be seen. But knowing that they're listening to offers is a perfect opportunity to bring in that cornerstone piece and set your attack up for something special. We already know that Victor Gyökeres and Sporting CP are listening to offers for Victor Gyökeres. And I know last summer the rumored number was starting at $90 million and going up, and a lot of teams kind of flinched at it. That's why he stayed this season. But that being said, you look at his numbers, and that dude is absolutely legit. The situation with Christian Pulisic at Milan is fluid, considering that Sergio Conceição has dropped him in and out of the starting 11 basically since he's come through that door. I know there was an injury issue with him, but he's been over that. He's been playing recently. But that being said, it's like, it's also worth checking in. You also have a couple of guys who are going to be available on freeze this summer as well too. Jonathan David's going to be available on a free, who is also worth the weight in gold, because that dude plays with a chip on his shoulder and he's lighting up the French league right now. So there's multiple avenues that this team can go down if they want to do. I've heard Kingsley Coman's name from Bayern Munich has been rumored as well too. So they have Fratese from Inter Milan. That name keeps popping back up as well too. So the way that I look at it is like, this is an absolute pivotal summer for Tottenham Hotspur, but it's not just about the names coming through the door. It's about the names that are currently there. And if you're worried about whether or not a dude like Mikey Van de Ven or Christian Romero might want to leave, the best way that you can do that is either A, make sure that they're financially taken care of, but also show your ambition, because these dudes want to win. These dudes want to win. And it's like the best way that you can ensure that certain players stay around is if that ambition matches what you're expecting to come down in the summer transfer window.
Just very quickly, and this one might whet your appetite a little bit for mine and Dermo's transfer thing, is that we're getting strong links with Dusan and Vlahovic of Juventus.
Yeah.
There's very strong links to putting a bid in for them, because Randall Kolo Muani looks like he's going to be moving to Juventus, and Vlahovic doesn't want to share the limelight. He's going to be moving there on a permanent, and Vlahovic doesn't want to stay at Juventus. Is looking to move on. So I think that would be a shrewd buy, but will he come to us? Yeah, I think that'd be a good buy, but will he come to us if we can't offer European football? That's the difference.
Correct.
If we can offer Champions League football, I think we could get him, and I think he will change our attack. And I think he is a player that is a 20 to 30 goal striker every day of every season.
So how do you sum up? How do you look at the summer transfer window? Because I think it's pivotal. Because if they have the same summer where it's like you bring in a couple guys from the championship like Joe Bellingham, who in his own right is a pretty good footballer, but if they continue to go down this youth path and fail to bring in experience to center around some of this youth, there's a good chance that you're going to lose players that are already on your team, but most importantly, I think this fractured fan base is going to continue to stay fractured.
Yeah, 100%. We have to show intent, and we have to show that we want to compete at the top, and we're not going to settle to be a second fiddle team anymore, or even a third tier team anymore. Not like tiers in the leagues, but we need to show that this summer is got to be massive for us. It's got to be the biggest transfer window we can possibly have. There's no ifs or buts about it. If we are not bringing in 4 or 5 quality players this summer, then I can see another season of this. And if the teams that come up recruit better than what the teams that came up last year did and play better, I can see us being in a real relegation and big trouble next year. It's a big season for us. It's going to be a big, big summer window, and we've got to if Angie's still there, we've got to back him, but not just back him a little bit. We've got to back him to the hill, and we've got to bring in quality, not quantity. Quality, and that's the difference. Yeah,
and that's the big issue with me. I want two guys through the door that have that Champions League experience, that have actually played in big games, that have won cups, that have won the league, that knows what it takes to do that. That's going to help kick these young players on as well too. Somebody that actually is a leader. So before we go, I gotta ask you this question. I'm going to put you on the hot seat. This summer, and I know that it's very early because we still got games left, But do Spurs bring in that big £100 million player this summer?
They've got to. They have to bring in that £100 million player. We can't not. We've got to spend that kind of money. We've got to spend that kind of money maybe twice.
Yeah.
We've got to. I mean, Dom Solanke is our. I mean, this is crazy when you think about it, but Dominic Solanke is our highest ever transfer, and it was 68 million.
68 million. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at Liverpool, you look at Man United, you look at Chelsea, you look at Man City, you look at Arsenal. That's a squad player to them.
Yeah.
68 million is a squad player. That's not somebody who's going to be lighting up the instant first team, going to come in and change their team. That's somebody that maybe a impact sub or somebody who's going to play maybe 40% of the games starting and the rest of the games off the bench. Cup competitions mainly, few league appearances, maybe few European appearances. But when they want someone big, they go out and spend the money.
Yeah.
Prime example for Manchester City, the one that always sticks out to me for Manchester City is we were linked with him, and I've just forgotten his name. It was right there in my head. Aston Villa, ex-Aston Villa player. Oh God.
Oh, are you talking about Jack Grealish?
Jack Grealish. There you go. 110 million, I think they paid for Jack Grealish, and he's basically been sat on bench for near enough 2-3 years.
Yeah, he's essentially become a squad player. But
Yeah,
that being said, you know, what's interesting is like when you look at a team like Liverpool that's owned by Fenway Sports Group, right? They have a hard budget, right? Every single year. It's not like Man City where you're just going to spend for the sake of spending. They have a hard budget, but the difference is they have sound, smart people running their football operation, and they only target players that actually fit their system and what they're trying to do. And that's the thing is when they target it, they generally get it. And with Spurs, it's like, dude, it's like throwing darts at a dartboard. You know what I mean? Hoping something will stick.
Yeah. But it's not one dart at a time with us. It's like we'll grab a handful of darts and we'll throw 10 darts at the dartboard and hope one will hit the bullseye. I mean, we did that with when we sold Gareth Bale. We bought 7 players. You held 7 darts, threw it in there, and the one that stuck was Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It's we need to stop buying getting numbers. We need to stop buying numbers and start buying less numbers. Look, I'm all for when we get linked for this player, that player, this player, and that player, and transfer rumours and everything like that. That's fine. That's football. There is always going to be transfer rumours. I think in the summer just gone, I think we missed a trick in not signing Jonathan David that season, 100%. That summer. I think letting him thinking that we were going to kick on and we were going to be able to offer better things this summer and on a free transfer would be more of an attractive option was a mistake. I think there's too many big clubs out there that are sniffing around him. And I think we should have acted quicker with the Muani deal this winter window. We should have been more decisive and basically said, this is what we're offering. This is what you think coming to. This is what we want you to do. But instead, we drew it on. We let it trickle and trickle and trickle along and trickle along and trickle along. And then Juventus got a jump and said, oh, well, Spurs obviously aren't that interested in him. Okay, come to us and this is what you're going to get. You're going to get first team football. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. And this is the money that we're going to pay you. And we'll give you a contract. If we like you, we'll give you a permanent contract. And he's going to go, all right, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I'm a big fan of Matisse Tell. I know you and Dermo, you have your reservations. I think he's going to be a quality player, and I think
I do
he's.
too.
But when it takes your manager phoning him up and saying, "Look, I really, really need you to come to this club, and really, really want you to come to this club because of this project that I'm trying to put together," and it took that for him to change his mind to
Yeah.
get him to come. That kind of screams like, what is Scott Munn? What is Joanne Lang doing?
Yeah.
And me and Dermo were going to talk about this on Wednesday and what I'm hearing about these two people. Because personally, I would string them up by the short and curlies right outside the stadium because
And
the
and
screwed
by
is
the
over.
way, it was that embarrassment that Johan Lang is supposed to be like the young prospect whisperer, and he couldn't get Matisse Tell to sign on the dotted line to the point where he had Daniel Levy go out to Germany. He couldn't get it over the line. But the most embarrassing thing was the Rando Kolo Moani, the relationship that Daniel Levy has with the Qatari owners of PSG. That was supposed to be a layup, and we couldn't get that done. So that should have been the moment Johan Lane lost his job, when he couldn't even get a layup through the door, and he couldn't even get Matisse Tell through the door. To me, that should be everything that you need to know about that dude. Where if your specialty is supposed to be youth and you can't get youth through the door, as far as I'm concerned, that's going to be it. But as you mentioned, you and Dermo will be back on Wednesday. I'll be back this upcoming weekend as we get closer to the Liverpool match on Stateside Footy. We do have our Saturday morning Spurs conversation, which will be excellent, as we do every single week. You're going to be able to check that out on Stateside Footy, and we have our MLS live stream Saturday nights. For all you American soccer fans out there, last week this last Saturday we had Seattle versus Nashville, and Seattle handled their business 3-0 over Nashville at home, picking up a valuable 3 points. So that will be next week as well too. And of course we have Spurs versus Liverpool in the entire match day festivities that we have here on Tottenham Hotspur till we die. James, I want to thank you for tuning in, for stopping by and being a part of today's match day festivities. You can check James out on Wednesday with Derma for a very good conversation, which I'm sure is going to shed a lot of light on everything that we were just talking. So any last things you want to add, buddy?
Roll on next season. Next year, in the words of Del Boy Trotter from Only Fools and Horses, next year, Steve, next year will be our year.
Absolutely. That's funny. And how long have we been saying that? For years?
Well, too many years. Too many years.
I want to thank all those that were tuning in today, not only on my channel, but this channel as well, too. I want to thank Boris. I want to thank Kiwi Spurs, Philip Brady, Wayne Bonner, Big Bad Ram. Who else? So I want to give a shout out real quick. Let's see. One last shout out. And we're going to say Ron Tyler. Thanks for dropping in the chat today. You guys are awesome, man. And we definitely appreciate your contributions in the chat as well, too. Your opinions are absolutely spot on and on the money. I'm sorry that Spurs couldn't deliver 3 points today. It is what it is, man. But maybe against Liverpool, we'll find out.
Yeah,
James,
it's a big game. We might turn up.
We might turn up. You guys enjoy the rest of your Monday, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Lanes are far and wide, with the pride of the fight. On this journey we'll